Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs.
You're probably feeling defeated, deflated.
What, when my career ended?
Yeah. How are you feeling at that point in time? And then how do you overcome that and transition into beer of all things, which you know nothing about at the time?
So beer came before my career ended.
Okay.
Should we start with the beer or start with the career ending?
Why don't we start with the timeline? How did that go down?
So basically with the craft brewery, this is like, dude, maybe 5 months before we started the brewery, my wife, back then fiance, she kind of had a talk with me, right? She was like, hey, so I'm not saying you need to figure this out now, but just kind of start like thinking about what could be next. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, okay. And I left that. And then seriously, like,
planting
this obsessive,
some seeds.
yeah. And she knows how to, So this obsessive kind of personality me was like, okay, what could I do? What could I do? And there was like a month-long kind of window where people would talk about like ideas. And my like quick response would be, let's start a company. So for example, we all rode for this backpack company called OGIO.
Yep.
And OGIO pulled out of skateboarding, and so the whole team no longer had a backpack sponsor. And I was going out shooting with this guy, Atiba, who's a skate photographer, and he was kind of had this conversation. He's like, hey, what are we going to do now that OGIO's gone? And the seed that my wife planted a month before, let's start a backpack company. We don't need them. We can do this all ourselves, right? And then seriously, 3 weeks later, I'm in San Diego with Josh Landon, who was Paul and my partner in Saint Archer, and we're filming a video. I get a call from another friend who's going to start a sunglass company. And I'm like, yeah, let's start a sunglass company. Hey, on the phone, look at Josh. I'm going to start a sunglass company. And that conversation sparked the overall idea of us creating Saint Archer. And so basically when he was like, yo, like, let's do something new. Like, what about a craft brewery? That same seed was stuck in my head. Let's do a craft brewery. Let's go get this, So it was like my wife just randomly had a conversation with me that led to like me just saying yes to everything.
That's killer.
And so what happened was like Saint Archer came 3 weeks after me telling Atiba, let's do the backpack company. But there was so much more that went into Saint Archer that it kind of took precedence on everything that we were focused on. And basically me, Josh, and Paul spent the next year trying to figure out what that even meant. We started going to other breweries and
that was actually my next question is what is step one? Like, how are you figuring this out? What are you doing?
Step one is research. So what we did not understand at that point was beer. We knew nothing about it other than we liked beer. That was it.
Right.
But we recognized that something was happening in craft beer because right around that time when we would go out to like parties, right? When I would go to parties, it was always Coors, Corona, kind of the go-tos. And then like some guy would bring this like random, at this point, like Sam Adams might have felt like a craft. It was like, but like, I was like, oh, what is that? And then all of a sudden somebody would bring like a Lagunitas. And then it was like, what is this stuff? So we started recognizing that there was a change happening or there was a certain industry that was growing. We knew nothing about beer though. So what we started doing was calling other breweries and setting up meetings to try to learn what they were doing and what the possibility of us doing it was. One thing we did know was marketing. That was kind of, if you're a pro skateboarder, the skateboarding industry is so competitive and everything is kind of the same. For example, every skateboard company uses the same wood, right? The only difference is a graphic. But how do you convince a kid to buy this board and that board where they're the same exact thing? Really good marketing. So that's something we did know. We just didn't understand what it meant to start a craft brewery. So our original idea was we were going to contract brew it. So someone was going to make our beer and we would just be responsible for marketing.
Marketing and sales.
And as we started going down that path, basically the margin was nothing and there was no money in it. And so we felt like if we went down that path, we would have had to start a brewery at some point. So we just decided we might as well do it now. And then we had a meeting with Randy. We're going to start a brewery. We need to raise money. We have to like do a business plan. What is this?
How do we do that?
I didn't even know how to do a business plan.
Wow.
So Randy basically helped us create a business plan, helped us basically get all our legal documents to then go out and raise money, and then also taught us how to pitch and how to respond to investor questions. I mean, dude, it was like Imagine like,
here's the common objection.
I think what it is like what it is supposed to be like when you go get an MBA in college. That's what we actually got.
In real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it started with us with learning.
Better.
Yeah.
I'm brilliant about it, and I don't know if it was just luck with timing or just brilliant marketing or both. But like, to your point, the craft beer thing was kind of bubbling and getting hot. And then leveraging this like community aspect of skating and action sports, which had like never really been done before outside of the sunglasses, the backpacks, the boards, the t-shirts.
So what's funny is, call it luck, call it fate, whatever.
Yeah.
Skateboarders typically didn't do things with surfers or snowboarders. Skateboarding is like a very, this is our thing world.
Right.
Josh was a filmmaker, right? So Josh had a ton of friends in surf, and he also had friends in snowboard. And Paul and I were the skate community. If us three wouldn't have gotten together, the worlds would never have been combined.
Right.
And it was just like
crazy.
It really was. And that was like, I think one of the first times you ever had skaters, surfers, snowboarders, musicians actually a part of something and truthfully felt a part of it. It wasn't like, oh, we're all getting checks, so we'll show up for a photo shoot. It was like, we are all in this together. We've got skin in the game. This thing works. We're stoked. This thing doesn't. We're all screwed together.
Right.
You know? So it was special. It was not planned out. It happened that way.
It was super organic, and it was perfect timing because, again, like to get all these people, like I remember just watching it. I'm like, keep my finger on the pulse. Like I grew up surfing my whole life, and I would just, every time I saw Saint Archer, I would just buy it over everything else because I knew it was part of the, part of the scene. I want to support the scene, whatever. And I think that was like, was that on purpose, or do you think that just happened organically?
So,
because I think it's why the main reason you guys kind of blew up so fast, right? I mean,
gosh, it's so funny, like looking back and trying to figure out why it worked, right? I actually truthfully believe that timing is everything. And I think like there's a lot of great ideas and great companies that get introduced at the wrong time and it doesn't work, right? For us, I think a big component was when it launched and where social media was at that time, right? So it was like, it's so funny, man, like talking about this. We raised the money to start the company, right? Which was like hard for us to do, and we were already running it pretty lean. And we were looking at our marketing budget, which was already nothing, and we're trying to figure out ways to cut our marketing back. And this might have been Josh. I don't remember who even said this, but somebody came up with the idea of like, hey, look, the majority of our investors have a social media following. Like, what if we just like post it on Instagram?
Put it out there.
And now it sounds stupid because where we're at with social media. Back then it was like,
that's crazy.
Would people like, could we do that?
Could that be a thing?
And so it was our whole idea on how to save money. And so
this was influencer marketing, pre-influencer marketing.
Totally on accident of us trying to save money. And so what happened is on social media, it was like in skateboarding, you never had all these guys come together to create a company outside of skateboarding, right? It was always skateboard companies, apparel brands, a craft brewery.
Yeah.
And then let alone with all these guys, it was just, I think there were a lot of people that looked at it and went, this is amazing. We're going to support this. Like you guys are now contending beyond our industry. Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to support it. And it was just like, it aligned, man. It was crazy,
And so how did you guys handle that, scaling that massive growth super fast? Because it was like a 2 or 3 year run
3.5 years.
3.5 years from start to sale?
Yeah. So it's funny, man. When things are going good or things are going bad, you always have problems, right? Our problem, thankfully, was a good problem, and it was how to keep up with demand, which we decided to create a company in a capital-intensive industry. It was expensive to grow. Of
course, yeah. I imagine it's not cheap to start a brewery.
No. So that was hard. And ultimately, I've got to give a lot of credit to Josh. His personality, he's great at pushing people through challenges. So he really kept everybody pushing forward on these capital raises and on this kind of scaling window. Mm-hmm. Because even though you have demand doesn't mean it's all going to work out, right?
Course,
we all feel good, everybody's showing up to the brewery, but we're still losing money.
Right.
We were never profitable. So it's you still have to get on board investing more money in something that is really going to pay out if we sell. So it was scary. It was hard. It was expensive.
How much money did you have to raise at the beginning?
Our first raise was $2.5 million. And then I think we were at about 8. We were probably 8 million all in at the end.
To listen to this full Founders Club interview, go to foundersclub.tv.